Marcus Rodriguez stood in the rain outside the county auction house, holding paddle number 47 in his callous hands. The rain soaked through his old army jacket, the same one he'd worn on 3 tours in Afghanistan. He was about to bid on a mansion nobody wanted for $500. He had no idea his German shepherd would find $18 million hidden in the walls. The foreclosed Whitmore estate had been on the market for 3 years. Every professional inspection revealed the same catastrophic problems. Foundation damage that would cost $180,000 to repair, black mold infestation throughout the 2nd and 3rd floors, a roof that was literally collapsing in 2 separate sections, and electrical wiring so outdated it was a legitimate fire hazard. The estimated total repair cost was $400,000. No bank would approve a mortgage. No investor would touch it. No contractor would even give a bid without demanding payment up front. Marcus had driven past the mansion exactly once, 3 weeks earlier, when he'd gotten lost trying to find a VA hospital appointment. Something about the place had stuck with him. Maybe it was the way the afternoon sunlight hit the broken stained glass windows. Maybe it was the overgrown rose garden that someone had clearly loved once. Or maybe it was just desperation, because Marcus was running out of options fast. His PTSD made regular employment impossible. He'd been fired from 4 jobs in 18 months. The panic attacks came without warning. Loud noises sent him diving for cover. He couldn't sleep more than 3 hours without nightmares. His disability check covered rent and food, barely. The $500 he'd saved was literally everything he had left in the world. And he was about to spend it on a mansion everyone said was worthless. The auction room smelled like coffee and mildew. 17 people had shown up, but Marcus quickly realized most were just curious locals who wanted to see what would happen to the infamous Whitmore estate. Nobody was actually planning to bid. The auctioneer was a tired-looking man in his 70s named Harold Perkins, who'd been running county auctions for 43 years. He'd sold everything from farm equipment to seized vehicles to foreclosed homes. But he'd never seen anything quite like the Whitmore estate situation. "Folks, I'm required by law to start the bidding at the assessed tax value," Harold announced, adjusting his reading glasses. "That value is $50,000. Do I have 50,000? Silence. Someone in the 3rd row coughed. "All right then. Do I have 25,000? More silence. A woman in the front row was scrolling through her phone, not even pretending to pay attention. $10,000? Harold's voice had taken on a resigned quality. He'd clearly expected this. Nothing. 5,000? A man in overalls actually laughed out loud. "Harold, that place ain't worth the cost of the bulldozer to knock it down." Several people nodded in agreement. Marcus sat perfectly still in the back row, his hand resting on Rex's head. The German shepherd was alert, watching everything, his dark eyes tracking each person who spoke. "Fine," Harold sighed. "State law says I have to accept any bid over the back taxes owed, which is $500. Do I have $500? Marcus raised his paddle. The room went completely silent. Every head turned to look at him. "Going once," Harold said slowly, giving everyone a chance to counterbid. "Going twice." Nobody moved. Sold to paddle number 47 for $500. 3 weeks before the auction, Marcus had walked into the county animal shelter with no intention of adopting a dog. He'd gone there to drop off blankets he'd collected from a church donation drive, part of a volunteer program his VA therapist had recommended to help with his isolation issues. But then he saw Rex. The German shepherd was in the last kennel in the back row, in the section the shelter workers quietly called Death Row. These were the dogs scheduled for euthanasia within 72 hours because they'd been deemed unadoptable. Rex had 48 hours left. "That one's not available for adoption," a shelter worker named Jennifer told Marcus, not unkindly. She was in her 50s, had worked there for 12 years, and had learned to deliver bad news gently. He's a failed police canine, too aggressive for program. Marcus knelt down in front of the kennel anyway. Rex didn't bark or growl. He just sat perfectly still, staring directly into Marcus's eyes with an intensity that was almost unsettling. It was the same look Marcus had seen in the mirror every morning since coming home from Afghanistan. The look of someone who'd been trained for a mission they could never complete. "What happened?" Marcus asked. Jennifer sighed and pulled up Rex's file on her tablet. He went through 18 months of explosive and narcotics detection training with the state police. Passed every test with perfect scores. But his handler reported a behavioral problem they couldn't fix. Rex refuses to stop searching until he finds something, even when there's nothing there to find. "I don't understand," Marcus said, still maintaining eye contact with the dog. During training exercises, they'd hide drugs or explosives for the dogs to find. Rex would find them in under 2 minutes, faster than any dog they'd ever trained. But then he wouldn't stop. He'd keep searching the entire building, the entire property, sometimes for hours. His handler would give the recall command, and Rex would completely ignore it. They tried everything, different handlers, different training methods, even medication. Nothing worked. Marcus understood immediately. Rex wasn't being disobedient. He was being thorough. He'd been trained that threats could be anywhere, and he took that mission seriously. Too seriously for a police department that needed dogs who would follow orders precisely. "He's scheduled for euthanasia tomorrow at 2 p.m., Jennifer said quietly. "I'm sorry. I know you probably see something in him. But we can't adopt out a dog with aggression issues. Liability reasons. He's not aggressive," Marcus said. "He's just doing his job." That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Rex sitting in that kennel, less than 24 hours from being put down for crime or being too good at what he'd been trained to do. At 3 a.m., Marcus was still staring at his apartment ceiling, listening to the neighbor's television through the thin walls. By 6 a.m., he'd made his decision. He showed up at the shelter when they opened at 8 a.m. with $150, the adoption fee for large dogs. Jennifer looked surprised to see him. "I need to adopt Rex," Marcus said simply. "Sir, I explained yesterday. I'm a combat veteran with PTSD," Marcus interrupted, pulling out his VA identification card. "I need a service dog. Rex needs a handler who understands him. We're both trained for missions we can't complete. Maybe we can figure out together." Jennifer stared at him for a long moment, then at the VA card, then back at his face. She saw something there that made her decision. "I'll need you to sign additional liability waivers," she said finally, "and you'll need to agree to work with a professional dog trainer within 30 days. If there are any incidents, any at all, Rex comes back here immediately." "Understood." "Understood." 20 minutes later, Marcus walked out of the shelter with Rex on a leash. The German shepherd stayed perfectly at his side, not pulling, not distracted. When they reached Marcus's truck, Rex jumped into the passenger seat without being told and sat at attention, staring straight ahead through the windshield. "We're going to figure this out," Marcus told him. "Both of us." Rex's tail wagged once. Just once. But it was enough. The drive to the Whitmore estate took 53 minutes from Marcus's apartment in town. The first 40 miles were on the interstate, then 10 miles on a Tulane County road, then the final 3 miles on what could barely be called a road at all, more like 2 dirt tracks separated by a strip of weeds. Marcus's GPS lost signal 2 miles before they arrived. His phone showed no bars. The last house they'd passed was 4 miles back, an abandoned farmhouse with a collapsed barn. They were truly in the middle of nowhere. Rex had his head out the passenger window, ears forward, taking in every scent. Marcus noticed the dog's posture change as they got closer to the estate. His ears pinned back slightly. His body went rigid. The same alertness Marcus had seen during the auction. "You feel it too, don't you?" Marcus said quietly. The trees on either side of the road grew thicker, older, their branches creating a tunnel effect that blocked out most of the afternoon sunlight. Spanish moss hung from the limbs like gray curtains. The temperature seemed to drop 5 degrees. Then they rounded the final curve, and Marcus saw it. The Whitmore estate. 3 stories of Victorian architecture that had once been magnificent and was now slowly being reclaimed by nature. The mansion was massive. Marcus estimated at least 8,000 square feet. Broken windows on every floor. Sections of the roof visibly sagging. The wraparound porch had collapsed on the left side. Ivy covered half the exterior walls. But there was something else. Something Marcus couldn't quite name. A feeling of weight in the air. Of presence. Of secrets. Rex started growling, low, continuous, threatening. "Easy, boy," Marcus said, putting the truck in park. "This is home now. We're going to make this work." The growling didn't stop. Marcus pushed open the front door. The hinges screamed in protest, and the sound echoed through the empty mansion like a warning. Rex bolted inside before Marcus could stop him, his claws clicking rapidly across the marble floor as he began his systematic search pattern. The entrance hall was breathtaking, even in its decay. A grand staircase curved up to the second floor, its mahogany banister still intact despite everything else falling apart. The chandelier that had once hung from the 20-foot ceiling now lay shattered on the floor, surrounded by decades of dust and debris. Marcus pulled out his phone to use the flashlight, but there was still no signal. No electricity either. The power had been shut off years ago. The only light came through the broken windows, creating dramatic shafts of dusty sunlight that made the place feel like an abandoned cathedral. Rex was already on the second floor. Marcus could hear him moving from room to room, his breathing pattern changing as he processed different scents. The dog wasn't just exploring. He was working, searching. For what? Marcus had no idea. "Rex, come." Marcus called up the stairs. No response. The clicking of claws continued overhead, moving methodically from room to room. Marcus sighed and started climbing the stairs, testing each step carefully. Some creaked ominously. One cracked under his weight, and he had to grab the banister to avoid falling through. When he reached the second floor, he found Rex sitting perfectly still in front of a wall at the end of the hallway. Not a door, not a window, just a blank wall covered in faded floral wallpaper. The dog was staring at the wall with laser focus, occasionally pawing at the baseboard. "What is it, boy?" Marcus approached slowly. Rex pawed the wall again, then looked back at Marcus, then back at the wall. The message was clear. "There's something here." Marcus knelt down and ran his hand along the baseboard where Rex had been pawing. It felt different from the rest of the wall, slightly hollow. He knocked on it gently. The sound that came back wasn't solid. It was hollow, empty space behind it. "Good boy," Marcus whispered. "Good boy." Marcus spent the next 2 hours exploring the mansion, making notes of all the repairs he'd need to tackle first. The roof was priority one. He couldn't fix anything else if rain kept pouring in, but his mind kept drifting back to that hollow wall on the second floor. By late afternoon, he'd retrieved a crowbar from his truck and returned to the spot where Rex had indicated something was wrong. The dog sat patiently beside him, watching every movement. Marcus carefully pried away a section of the wallpaper. Underneath was wood paneling, but it wasn't attached to studs like normal wall construction. It was a separate panel, held in place by hidden clips. "This was meant to be removed," Marcus said aloud. "This is a door." He worked the crowbar into the seam and applied steady pressure. The panel resisted, then suddenly gave way with a crack that echoed through the empty house. Behind it was darkness, a space, a hidden room. Marcus used his phone's flashlight to peer inside. The beam illuminated a small chamber, maybe 8 feet by 8 feet, with no windows. The walls were bare brick, and in the center of the floor was a metal vault door, the kind you'd see in a bank, with a large lock mechanism in the center. "What the hell?" Marcus breathed. Rex immediately tried to push past him into the hidden room, but Marcus held him back. "Easy, boy. Let me check it out first." Marcus squeezed the opening and approached the vault door. It was old, probably installed in the 1920s based on the design. The metal was covered in a thin layer of rust, but the mechanism looked intact. There was no keyhole, just a wheel lock, a combination lock. He tried turning the wheel. It didn't budge. Locked. Marcus stood there in the darkness, his mind racing. Why would someone install a bank vault inside a hidden room in a mansion? What were they protecting? And more importantly, was whatever they were protecting still inside? Rex was whining now, pawing at Marcus's leg, desperate to get into the room. "You smell something in there, don't you?" Marcus said. "Something important." The dog's tail wagged frantically. His entire body vibrated with excitement. Marcus made a decision. He'd figure out how to open this vault. Whatever was inside, it was his now. He bought this mansion for $500. Everything in it belonged to him. He just had to get inside. Marcus spent the next 3 days living in the mansion, sleeping in his truck at night because the interior was too dangerous in the dark. During daylight hours, he searched every room for clues about the vault. The mansion had belonged to the Whitmore family. He'd learned that much from the auction paperwork. But beyond that, he knew nothing. No internet to research. No cell signal to make calls. He was completely isolated. On the third day, he found the library. It was on the first floor, hidden behind a door he'd assumed was a closet. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves lined 3 walls. Most of the books were ruined by water damage and mold, but one section in the corner had been protected by an intact section of roof above. Marcus pulled books down carefully, checking behind them, looking for anything useful. On the fourth shelf, he found a leather journal wedged between 2 accounting ledgers. The journal belonged to Catherine Whitmore. The entries were dated 1962 through 1964. Marcus sat on the dusty floor with his camping lantern and started reading while Rex lay beside him, head resting on his paws. Catherine wrote about her husband, Robert Whitmore, who'd made his fortune in textile manufacturing during World War II. But the entries that caught Marcus's attention were from late 1963. Robert has become paranoid. Catherine wrote in November 1963. He insists the government is going to seize our assets. He's converted everything to cash, all of it. He won't tell me how much, but I know it's substantial. He's having a vault installed in the upstairs guest wing. He says it's the only way to protect what we built. Marcus's heart rate increased. He flipped forward through the pages. December 1963. The vault is complete. Robert spent 3 days moving everything inside. He won't give me the combination. He says it's safer if only he knows it. I'm frightened by how obsessed he's become. January 1964. Robert had a stroke this morning. The doctors say he won't recover. He can't speak, can't write. The combination to the vault died with his ability to communicate it. Everything we have is locked inside, and I have no way to access it. The journal entry stopped in February 1964. The final entry was a single sentence. The bank is foreclosing. I have nothing left. Marcus sat in the darkness, holding the journal. Robert Whitmore had locked a fortune in cash inside that vault in 1963. Catherine never got the combination. The mansion was foreclosed. And for 62 years, that money had been sitting behind a locked vault door that nobody could open. Until now. Rex suddenly lifted his head, ears forward. He was staring at the library doorway. Marcus heard it too. Footsteps. Someone was in the house. Marcus grabbed his flashlight and stood up quickly, his military training kicking in. Rex was already on his feet, positioned between Marcus and the doorway, a low growl rumbling in his chest. An elderly man appeared in the doorway, hands raised peacefully. He was in his 80s, wearing work clothes and carrying a toolbox. "Easy there," the man said calmly. "I'm not here to cause trouble. Name's William Chen. I'm the contractor who did the final inspection on this place 3 years ago." "How did you know I was here?" Marcus asked, not lowering his guard. "Saw your truck parked outside when I was driving past yesterday. Figured someone finally bought this money pit." William gestured at the journal in Marcus's hand. "I see you found Catherine's diary. That means you know about the vault." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "What do you know about it?" William smiled slightly. "Son, I know how to open it. Robert Whitmore was my grandfather." Marcus didn't lower his guard. Rex remained tense, watching William's every movement. "Your grandfather?" Marcus said carefully. "Catherine's journal said Robert died without giving her the combination." "He did," William confirmed, setting his toolbox down slowly. "But my mother, Robert's daughter, figured it out 30 years after he died. By then, Catherine had passed away, and the mansion had already been through 3 foreclosures. My mother tried to claim it, but the legal fees would have cost more than the property was worth. So she let it go. If you know how to open the vault, why didn't you come back for it? William's expression grew sad. Because my mother made me promise I wouldn't. She said that money destroyed our family. Robert's paranoia, Catherine's desperation, the years of legal battles. It poisoned everything it touched. She made me swear I'd let it stay buried. But you're here now, Marcus pointed out. I'm 83 years old, William said quietly. My mother died 20 years ago. That promise died with her. And when I saw your truck yesterday, I saw something that changed my mind. What? Your license plate frame. Proud veteran. Your VA parking permit in the window. William's eyes grew misty. My son served in Iraq. He came home with PTSD. Couldn't hold a job. Couldn't sleep. 3 years ago, he took his own life in my garage. The words hung in the air like a physical weight. Marcus felt his throat tighten. Rex moved closer to him, pressing against his leg, the dog's instinctive response to emotional distress. I'm sorry, Marcus managed. That money in the vault, it couldn't save my son, but maybe it can save you. William's voice cracked. Maybe it can finally do some good instead of just sitting there, cursed and forgotten. My mother was wrong. The money didn't destroy our family. The secrecy did. The isolation, the paranoia, the same things that are destroying veterans like you right now. Marcus felt something break open inside his chest. This stranger understood. This old man who'd lost his son to the same invisible war that Marcus fought every single day. I don't even know if I can legally keep whatever's in there. Marcus said, you bought the property. Everything in it is yours. I checked the legal precedent before I came here. William stood up slowly, his joints creaking. Now, do you want to know how to open that vault, or do you want to keep having a staring contest with it? For the first time in 3 days, Marcus smiled. William led Marcus back upstairs to the hidden room. Rex followed closely, his earlier tension replaced by curiosity. The dog seemed to sense that William wasn't a threat. My mother spent years trying to figure out the combination, William said as they squeezed to the opening in the wall. She tried birthdays, anniversaries, every significant date in my grandfather's life. Nothing worked. They stood in front of the vault door. In the beam of Marcus's flashlight, the wheel lock gleamed dully. Then one day, she was going through old photo albums and found this. William pulled a faded photograph from his wallet. It showed a young woman in a 1960s dress, standing in front of the mansion. She was smiling, radiant, full of life. My mother, Rebecca, taken on her 16th birthday, June 14, 1962. Marcus looked at the photo, then at William's age face. He could see the resemblance, the same eyes, the same gentle smile. On the back, my grandfather had written something. William turned the photo over. In faded ink it read, my greatest treasure, June 14, 46. 46? Marcus asked, confused. The year she was born, 1946. William's hands trembled slightly as he held the photograph. My mother realized that my grandfather didn't use dates the way normal people do. He used a date format, but the numbers meant something else. 6 numbers. Right, left, right. The standard combination pattern for these old vault locks. But how did she figure out which numbers? William smiled sadly. She tried everything related to that photo. Finally, she realized it wasn't about the date. It was about the treasure. My grandfather's greatest treasure wasn't his money. It was his daughter. The combination was her birth weight, her birth time, and her birth date, all run together. June 14th, 46. Marcus stared at the vault door. Did she ever try it? No, William whispered. She was too afraid of what she'd find. Afraid that opening it would prove her father loved money more than he loved her. So she never came back here. She lived her whole life wondering, but never knowing. William's eyes filled with tears. I'm not going to die wondering. And neither are you. He stepped forward and placed his hand on the wheel lock. Let's open it together. William's hands shook as he began turning the wheel. Right first, 6 full rotations. The mechanism inside the door groaned. 62 years of rust and disuse fighting against movement. It's stuck, William gasped, his elderly strength not enough to force it. Let me help. Marcus placed his hands next to William's on the wheel. Together, they pulled. The metal screamed in protest, then suddenly gave way. The wheel spun freely. 14 rotations left, William said, breathing hard. They turned it together. Marcus could feel the old man trembling beside him, not from exertion, but from emotion. This was William's last connection to a grandfather he'd barely known, to a mother who died with questions unanswered, to a son who'd never found peace. 46 rotations right, William whispered. The final turn. The mechanism inside the door clicked, a sound that echoed through the small chamber like a gunshot. Rex stood up, tail wagging, sensing something important was happening. Now we pull, William said. They gripped the wheel and pulled. The vault door didn't budge. Marcus repositioned his grip and tried again, using his legs for leverage. Still nothing. It's been closed for 62 years, Marcus said. The seal is probably... He pulled harder, his muscles strained. The door groaned, and then, with a sound like a tomb opening, it moved. Just an inch, then 2 inches. Then suddenly it swung open, and the smell hit them. Old paper, stale air, and something else. Something that smelled like history itself. Marcus shined his flashlight inside. The beam illuminated stacks upon stacks of cash. Bundles of $100 bills, wrapped in rubber bands that had long since deteriorated. The money was piled from floor to ceiling, filling the entire vault space, at least 6 feet deep for feet wide, 8 feet tall. William made a sound that was half laugh, half sob. Oh my God, he really did it. He really converted everything. Marcus couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. He'd expected maybe a few $1,000s, maybe 10,000 if he was lucky. This was millions. Rex pushed past him and walked into the vault, sniffing the money carefully. Then he sat down in the middle of the cash pile and looked back at Marcus, tail wagging proudly. Good boy, Marcus thought distantly. You found it. You actually found it. We need to count it, William said, his voice shaking. We need to know how much is here. Marcus nodded, still unable to form words. He stepped into the vault carefully, his boots crunching on deteriorated rubber bands. He picked up one bundle of hundreds. The bills were old, series 1950 and 1963, but they were real, legal tender, still valid. He started counting bundles, 10,000 per stack, 20 stacks per row, multiple rows deep. After 30 minutes of counting, Marcus stopped and looked at William. There's approximately $18 million in this vault, Marcus said quietly. Maybe more. Some of the bundles in the back are too damaged to count accurately. William sat down hard on the floor outside the vault, his face pale. 18 million, he repeated. My grandfather locked away $18 million and let his wife lose everything. Let his daughter grow up in poverty. Let his family name be destroyed. Tears streamed down his weathered face. For what? For this? Money to help no one. Marcus sat down beside him, Rex immediately moving to sit between them. The dog rested his head on William's knee, a gesture of comfort that made the old man break down completely. My son could have had treatment, William sobbed. Real treatment. The best doctors. He wouldn't have had to wait 6 months for a VA appointment. He wouldn't have had to choose between therapy and paying rent. He'd still be alive. Marcus put his hand on William's shoulder, his own eyes burning with tears. He thought about all the veterans he'd known who'd taken their own lives. All the brothers and sisters who'd survived war only to lose the battle at home. All because of money. Because treatment cost too much. Because the system was broken. Because help was always just out of reach. Your son's name, Marcus said quietly. What was it? David, William whispered. David Chen. He was a Marine, 23 years old. He survived 2 tours in Fallujah. He came home and couldn't survive his own mind. Marcus was silent for a long moment, Rex's warm presence between them the only comfort in the cold, dusty room. This money is going to help veterans like David. Marcus said finally, his voice thick with emotion. Every single dollar. We're going to make sure no other father loses his son because he couldn't afford treatment. No other veteran has to choose between therapy and food. This money destroyed your family by being hidden. We're going to save families by bringing it into the light. William looked up at him, tears still streaming. You mean that? I mean that, Marcus said. Half of this is legally yours anyway. You're Robert's heir. But I'm asking you to partner with me. We'll create a foundation. The David Chen Veterans Mental Health Foundation. We'll fund treatment, housing, service dogs, whatever veterans need. We'll turn your grandfather's paranoia into your son's legacy. William grabbed Marcus's hand with both of his, squeezing hard. Yes, he choked out. Yes, that's what David would have wanted. That's what this money should have been used for all along. Rex's tail thumped against the floor, once, twice, 3 times. For the first time since Marcus had adopted him, the dog's body relaxed completely. His mission was complete. He'd found what he was trained to find. And somehow, in a way that transcended training, he'd found exactly what both men needed most: hope. They sat on the front porch of the Whitmore estate as the sun set, Rex lying between them, finally at peace. Marcus had his phone out, making notes even though he still had no signal. William was quiet, staring at the overgrown grounds that had once been manicured gardens. My mother used to tell me stories about this place, William said softly. Before my grandfather's paranoia took over, it was filled with light, with laughter, family gatherings every Sunday. My mother said it was the happiest place she'd ever known. It will be again, Marcus promised. We'll restore it, turn it into a retreat center for veterans, a place where they can come for treatment, for peace, for healing. We'll call it the Whitmore Chen Veteran Sanctuary. William's eyes filled with fresh tears, but this time they were tears of gratitude. My mother would have loved that. And David, his voice broke. David would have been so proud. They sat in comfortable silence as darkness fell. Marcus thought about the impossible chain of events that had led him here. A $500 auction bid, a rescue dog nobody wanted, a hidden vault that had waited 62 years to be opened. It felt like fate, like purpose. Can I ask you something? William said. Why did you buy this place? A $500 mansion in the middle of nowhere. Marcus was quiet for a moment, scratching Rex behind the ears. Because I was tired of feeling trapped, he said finally. Trapped in my apartment, trapped in my own head, trapped by memories I can't escape. I thought maybe if I had a mission, something to fix, something to build, I could fix myself too. And now I realize I wasn't supposed to fix myself alone, Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion. I needed Rex. I needed you. I needed this. He gestured at the mansion. Sometimes the things we think are broken are actually just waiting for the right people to see their potential. William smiled through his tears. My son used to say something similar. He'd say, Dad, I'm not broken. I'm just fighting a war nobody else can see. Marcus felt his chest tighten. He was right. We're all fighting wars nobody can see. But maybe with this money, with this place, we can make those wars a little easier to fight. Rex lifted his head and looked at Marcus, then at William, then back at Marcus. His tail wagged slowly. I think Rex agrees, William said with a small laugh. Rex always knows, Marcus replied. That's why I trust him more than I trust myself. As the stars came out above the Whitmore estate, 3 souls sat together in the darkness. A veteran searching for purpose, an old man seeking redemption, and a rescue dog who'd found exactly what he was trained to find. Not just money, not just treasure, but hope, connection, and a reason to keep fighting. That night, Marcus and William slept in the mansion for the first time, not in fear, but in peace. They'd moved some of the cash bundles downstairs and locked them in Marcus's truck. The rest would stay in the vault until they could arrange proper security and legal documentation. Rex slept between their sleeping bags, his breathing steady and calm. No more growling, no more tension. Whatever he'd been searching for, he'd found it. Marcus lay awake, staring at the cracked ceiling, his mind racing with possibilities. They'd need lawyers, accountants, a board of directors for the foundation, contractors to restore the mansion, therapists to staff the retreat center. It was overwhelming. But for the first time in years, it was the good kind of overwhelming. The kind that came from having too much purpose, not too little. Marcus? William's voice came from the darkness. You awake? Yeah. Thank you, William said quietly, for letting me be part of this, for honoring David's memory, for giving this cursed money a chance to do good. Thank you for trusting me, Marcus replied, for sharing your family story, for helping me open that vault. We open it together, William corrected, just like we'll build this foundation together. Partners. Partners, Marcus agreed, his voice steady in the darkness. Rex's tail thumped once against the floor, as if sealing the agreement. Marcus closed his eyes and, for the first time in 3 years, felt something he'd almost forgotten existed. Peace. Not the absence of pain, but the presence of purpose. Not the end of the war, but a reason to keep fighting it. Tomorrow, they'd start making calls. They'd contact lawyers, set up the foundation, begin the legal process of claiming the money and transforming it into hope. They'd start planning the restoration of the Whitmore estate into a sanctuary where veterans could find the help that David Chen never received. But tonight, in this broken mansion that was slowly becoming whole again, 3 souls rested together. A veteran who bought a $500 property and found 18 million reasons to keep living. An old man who'd lost his son but found a way to honor his memory. And a rescue dog who'd done what he was trained to do, find what was hidden and bring it into the light. Outside, the stars shone over the Whitmore estate. Inside, hope was being rebuilt, one breath at a time. The vault was open. The secrets were revealed. And the real work, the work of healing, was just beginning. 6 months later, the Whitmore estate looked like a different place. The roof was repaired. The windows replaced. The grounds cleared and landscaped. And on the front gate, a new sign read, Whitmore Chen Veteran Sanctuary, opening soon. Marcus stood on the same porch where he'd first met William, Rex by his side. The dog was calmer now, more settled. He'd found his purpose, and in doing so, had helped Marcus find his. The foundation was established. The legal battles were won. And the first group of veterans would arrive next month for a 2-week retreat. Fully funded, no cost to them. Therapy, housing, meals, and each veteran would be paired with a rescue dog, just like Rex. William walked out onto the porch, moving slower now, but smiling more. The therapist just confirmed, "We're ready." David would be proud, Marcus said. "He is proud," William replied, looking up at the sky. "I can feel it." Rex stood up and walked to the edge of the porch, looking out of the driveway as if expecting someone. His tail wagged slowly. "What is it, boy?" Marcus asked, and then he saw it. A car pulling up the driveway. Inside, a young veteran with haunted eyes and a service dog vest in the passenger seat. Early arrival. Someone who couldn't wait another month for help. Marcus walked down the steps to greet them, Rex following faithfully. "Welcome home," Marcus said to the veteran, extending his hand. "You're safe here." The young man's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't think places like this existed." "They didn't," Marcus said, glancing back at William. "Until they needed to." Rex sat down beside the new veteran, leaning against his leg. The young man's hand instinctively dropped to the dog's head, and for the first time in months, his shoulders relaxed. This was why the vault opened. This was why Rex found it. This was why everything happened exactly the way it did. Not for the money, for this moment. For every moment like it that would follow. The Whitmore estate had been a tomb for 62 years. Now it was a sanctuary, a place where broken things, mansions, people, dogs, could become whole again. Marcus looked at Rex, who looked back with those knowing eyes. "Good boy," Marcus whispered. "Good boy." If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Loyal Paws Chronicles for more incredible true stories of loyalty between veterans and their four-legged heroes. Thank you for watching. Stay loyal. Stay strong.